Now we come on to the main dish of the day, which is Mamedyarov against Gelfand. A tremendous fight. Mamedyarov obviously thought he has the white pieces. This is his best chance to try and win this match by using the white pieces. So he really went for it in this game. It was a Najdorf. I think very interesting. Sorry, if I just go back a couple of moves. Gelfand is a specialist in the Petrov, or the Russian defences, some people say. Can be a bit tedious. No doubt Mamedyarov would have been prepared for that. But instead of that, Gelfand came out fighting and played his old favourite, the Najdorf variation of the Sicilian. So fantastic to see that Gelfand is really up for a fight as well. So there we go, the Najdorf variation it is. And Mamedyarov played one of the sharpest lines, bishop c4. Matt says, surprising from Gelfand not to play the Petrov. Well, a little bit surprising, but I think it shows that he really is ambitious and he's not afraid of Mamedyarov at all. So, bishop c4 it is. One of the sharpest variations, Fischer's old line. And, well, in the past 20 years, Queen f3 has really become the main line for white. And this is very, very dangerous indeed. f4 was the old way of playing. Okay, just a little diversion from the game. Dorian Kusha is saying that non-game observation, Daniel, could you guys please criticise FIDE for putting the tournament blue flag in such a horrible position in the playing room? These great chess players deserve better than that. I didn't realise that the flag was in such a horrible position. It's all about signage and about publicity, I guess. Never mind. Sorry you feel offended by that, Dorian. Mr. Tambourine Man says, ignore politics, please. Okay, let's not go there. Right, Queen f3 it is. Okay, what's the point? Well, the Queen obviously lined up against the Rook, and e5 is the threat. So Black has to take a time out to defend this threat and plays Queen c7. This is one of the main moves, and now Queen g3. So this is the big idea, that White activates the Queen very quickly. So he's playing with his pieces rather than pawns. And, well, this is a very well-known continuation, actually. And it looks absolutely terrifying for Black, because suddenly he's going backwards. Mate is threatened, he's gone backwards. But actually, Black's setup, his basic structure, is incredibly solid. He has these 5 pawns in front of his king. And it's very hard for White to batter through with his pieces. You'll see these pawns here do a fantastic job of controlling these squares. So in particular, this bishop is blocked out of the game. And a lot of this game, a lot of this variation revolves around, can that bishop on b3 enter the game successfully? Okay, rattling on. Rook d1, so White bring out his pieces is all pretty normal. And f4, okay, only now does White go for it. It's interesting, I was looking at the stats and looking at past games in this line, and actually Gelfand has a lot of experience in this line. Maybe Mamedyarov realised that, well, he must have done when he was preparing. And actually Gelfand does not have a great score in this line. He's lost a couple of critical games. Anyway, here f5 was played. Again, it's been seen before, so it's obviously this is the most critical variation. White is really going for it, attacking very hard. And here Gelfand played what I think is a novelty. He played king h8, although, well, it's a very, very normal move indeed. Just give me a moment, guys. A very normal move indeed. So we're driving the bishop away. Now the bishop's attacked. Previously in this position, we've seen bishop f6 played a few times. Kasparov, for example, played bishop f6, and this looks like a very sensible continuation indeed. The idea is simply to put your bishop on e5, and Gary actually won a very nice game against Morozevich a few years ago. So, well, Mamedyarov must have been prepared for that and had some wrinkle prepared. So king h8 was played, but it looks very normal, and Gelfand simply played the knight back to f6, and this is a very sound and solid continuation, and well, as we're about to see, I think black is doing fine here. It's very hard for white to attack, actually. In particular, you can see that this rook, well, it looks like the wrong side of this pawn, doesn't it? It should be over here somewhere. And again, maybe the main problem, white has to do something eventually about this bishop. Well, that's what he tried to do with queen h3. This was the game continuation. So the pawn on e6 is threatened, and white is dreaming that black will play e5, and suddenly the position is transformed, because white will be able to use this wonderful d5 square. You might go back to d2 to protect c2 and come in here. You might also play to d3, but I think the critical thing is that white has access to this square. You might actually play bishop g5 and take and throw a piece into d5. This is your dream position as white. This is how Fischer used to play it. He's won a couple of beautiful games, positional masterpieces. But of course, Gelfand knows what he's doing. A very experienced Najdorf player, and he played the excellent counter-attacking move d5. What a great move this is. Right, let's get back to the critical moment in this game. I've left you on tenterhooks. Let's just get back 1 second. So, I left you round about here, where Gelfand has just played this fantastic move d5, a brilliant counter-attacking move. Okay, no panic, guys, we're back in action. I have no idea why it crashed, but there we go. Okay, so what did Mamedyarov do? Well, Robot3 says the cat unplugged the microphone. No, not this time. Okay, so what did Mamedyarov do? Well, he came out fighting e5. I think it's a very brave move indeed. Very brave. Somehow very logical, actually. The queen took on e5, and now rook h4. So Mamedyarov has given up a pawn, but of course it means that his rook now swings over. And also this bishop is ready to enter the game. So this is extremely dangerous. Extremely dangerous. Now, how do you defend against this? Well, Gelfand was extremely cool. So remember, there's a threat of playing bishop d4 and taking on f6 and crashing through on h7. Rook c8. Excellent move. But also rook fc8. Why not rook ac8? Well, we'll see a bit later on. There's a big difference. Rook fc8 is by far the best move. Okay, excuse me 1 second. We might lose more sound by doing this without that. Okay, what's the big idea? Well, of course, you want to be able to trade bishops, and so weaken white's attack. So, for example, if bishop c5, then we can simply trade, for example. But also, what happens on a move like g4? Very dangerous indeed. If we can play g5, we have one move, and white breaks through. But what happens? Very nice counter-sacrifice. Well, hardly a sacrifice. It's just a way of trading pieces. And remember that black is a pawn up. And maybe most importantly, this bishop is still out of the game. Remember, this is the key piece often in this variation. if white can get this bishop going, often he's doing okay in the attack. If not, then his position's terrible. Dorian Kuchar says, could we check h6 to h6 in this position? h6? Is that what you mean? h6? Now it looks very strange to me because there's some kind of sacrifice here. I just don't want to look at that move, if you don't mind. It looks dreadful. I don't want to go there. Even if, well, okay, let's do this. This doesn't look very good. However, if I play instead, let me see. What about bishop here? And so the queen goes back, and then I take here. Okay, this is off the top of my head. Here, here, here. Well, there's at least a draw. That's one thing. But if I swing a rook over, maybe here, rook here, or rook f4. I don't like this for black. This doesn't thrill me. Let's not do that. Maybe throw in this check first, and then play rook f3. Isn't this just mate? Oh no, we can take on f6 first. Well, so probably king here. Yeah, well, okay. I think this is the end of the road. Let's not go there. Okay. Too many moves. Rook fch. No, this is simply a good move. So, yeah, as I was saying, g4 can be met by this exchange, and black gets into an ending. And there's another point to rook fc8, we'll see in a second. So, okay, Mamedyarov played king h1. And now Gelfand sacrificed the exchange. I think this is a very good move. Excellent move, because now, you know, white, now there's no longer the possibility for black to exchange bishops. Then white is ready to play bishop d4, hit the queen, maybe take here and crash in. So what happens on rook takes c3? Well, after queen takes, you'll notice there's a pin. So white's attack is held up for a move. It's also not bad to get rid of that knight. It just reduces the pieces, white's attacking pieces. Little Tiger says all pieces want to play, so rook f8 was a good choice. Well, yeah, it's true, but you'll see in a second there's a very specific reason why we want to move the rook from f8. And now white is struggling. The attack just isn't going anywhere because of this pin. Remember, black has 2 pawns and a knight for a rook, and this bishop is locked out of the game. So, you know, if white were to exchange queens here, for example, then black would leap at this, and, well, the ending is simply good for black. Right, the game continuation. Mamedyarov kept hacking on. He played very bravely in this game. Idea, rook d3, break the pin, and then the bishop comes back in the game. So this is dangerous, but Gelfand reacted very coolly indeed, very coolly. a5. So with a5, he's simply trying to win this bishop. Pacosta says, is it better to play bishop d4 instead of king h1? Okay, just very quickly, let's have a quick look at that. Instead of king h1, bishop d4, let me see. Well, I imagine after bishop d4 you're just going to exchange bishops. So here, and, well, this has to be good for black. Must be very good for black. I don't see how white's attack is going to develop here at all. Should be good for black. Okay, let's go back. So, the game continuation. I've got to rattle on, folks, because we're running out of time and lots of interesting stuff to look at. So, this was the game continuation. And now, Gelfand is simply threatening to play a4 to win the bishop, and white's attack is not going anywhere. Well, you still have to be very careful. So, c3, Okay, good idea, trying to bring the bishop back, and trying to stir things up. And now Gelfand could have taken a third pawn, but in that case white gets some kind of security with this bishop, and there are chances to move the rook across, and yeah, it's tricky. But instead he played a much better move, e5, and you'll see that that pawn actually blocks out white's pieces, blocks out the bishop, blocks out the rook, blocks out the queen to some extent. And now black's pawns control so many important squares. Okay, bishop g5. Mamedyarov is simply trying to get at this weakness here, but well, it's not doing. Gelfand is just rolling on. He played very coolly. He wasn't bluffed out by Mamedyarov at all. And now here's a very interesting moment. Watch this. This looks absolutely terrifying. White is threatening to take here, obviously, and take on h7, but Gelfand had this under control. And the way that Gelfand dealt with this threat was exactly the same as a previous game, an old game I remember from, I can't even remember where it was played, I think in the 1990s in a Spanish tournament. Anyway, the players were Iescas with white and Ulf Andersson, the great Swedish grandmaster, with black. And Ulf Andersson reacted in exactly the same way as Gelfand did here. Instead of playing a move like h6, which of course could be disastrous, Gelfand simply played king g8. Very cool indeed. So this really comes to nothing. It was in Ubeda. Yeah, it was. Maybe in 1996? Iescas against Andersson from Ubeda 96. I think that was the game. If you've got Megabase, look up Iescas against Andersson, because it's a beautiful game by Ulf Andersson. Very similar to this. Okay, so what happens if white takes? You take on h7, but nothing else is happening. And in fact, the bishop does a fantastic job of controlling g7 and e5, and the king is rock solid on e7. Kintoki is saying, Ulf, and who else again? I'd like to look that game up. Was it 97? Okay, I'm going to write down the players. If you just bear with me a moment. It's Iescas against Andersson. These are the players. Iescas Andersson. If you look that up in Megabase, you'll see that you'll find the game. Very, very beautiful. I think it was either 1997 or Santo Grial says 1997. Okay, it was a great game. You can see that the black king is completely safe on e7, and this bishop holds everything. Black will simply win. Okay, let me just go back. So Mamedyarov now, he's facing 3 pawns in the middle. More pawns are coming soon, just count them. Okay, so rook e1, and the pawns advanced, and now this is absolutely desperate from Mamedyarov. He's throwing everything at Gelfand. He has no alternative here. I mean, his attack is coming to nothing. Okay, so the king moved out. Okay, that's cautious. Bishop e3, trying to hold those pawns back, but now the queen comes in and is taking more pawns. And now here, well, Gelfand didn't back down. He perhaps could have played like this, but it is a bit passive. And yeah, it starts to get a bit tricky. I mean, perhaps, I did about f6, but maybe you take on h7. It's perhaps not so clear. But okay, instead of backing down, Gelfand wanted to keep the initiative. So now he's a whole rook down, but his king is absolutely secure. And what's the pawn count? It's 5 pawns now for the rook. 5 pawns for the rook. But look at white's pieces. This rook now has nothing to do on h3. Now, it was possible to take on h3 and maybe just to come here. King g8. And in this case, okay, black is only a piece down and he has 5 pawns for the piece. and, well, rather a good centre, and this is winning for black. If you want maybe no complications, then this may be the way to do it. But instead, Gelfand played bishop g6, a really brave move, very bold move, and well, we know from the result of the game this was completely justified. So, queen g4, and queen takes a2. Okay guys, count them. It's now 6 pawns for a rook. 6 pawns for a rook. Queen came back to c4 and queen g2. It's funny, when we were looking at this, I was doing live commentary earlier, and after I saw this I suddenly thought, well, maybe this isn't so clear. You know, white is perhaps getting some kind of blockade. But, well, we'll see what happened in a second. Mr. Tambourine Man says, it looks like bricks of Tetris falling down. It is a bit like Tetris, yeah. Dorian Kusha says, wow, he keeps the bishop pair. Yeah, that's the other thing. By keeping the bishop pair, it means not only do you keep your king beautifully protected, but also it means that it's easier to roll these pawns down the board. But still, let's just go back a moment. Instead of a3, I thought that he would play rook b8 straight away here and put the rook on b2. But okay, he played a3 and the queen came back to c6, and now rook g3, and after rook b8, with one move to go before the time control at move 40, Mamedyarov lost on time. And it's funny, I thought this was white's best position of the game and he lost on time. This position is doing my head in, because if you look at this position with a computer, then it says that black is, well, it evaluates the position something like -5, minus sometimes -4, -5 in black's favour. You can check it if you want to. But how you win this position, I'm not exactly sure, and I think Gelfand was probably mightily relieved that white lost on time in this position. Let's have a look, because this is Horchy says, I thought he gave up. If he resigned in this position, I would be really surprised. I'm sure he would have lost on time, because after bishop c1, okay, I have a feeling that black is winning, but it's not 100% sure how you get there. After bishop c1, well, one thing is that's en prise. Well, Mr. Tambourine Man says, he's quoting Bent Larsen, who said, I don't care about what the computer says. Exactly. That's my view. All I know is that in a game, if I had to play this as black, I would still be thinking, well, I've got some work to do here. Okay, let's look at an obvious move. Horchy says white is winning. I don't think white is winning. I think black must be doing well here, but it's not that clear. Let's have a look at rook b2. And if anyone's got any suggestions about the best way for black to play this, I'd be really interested. But okay, let's have a look at rook b2, for example. Well, I'm going to take that. Rook b2, for example, is a move that's suggested by, well, the Fritz 12 suggests this. Okay, but in this position now, what happens if I blockade? So we have a very curious position with all these pawns coming down the board. Xeraxes says, well, you just rook b2 followed by d4. Okay, well, should we try d4 in this position? Let's try d4. Well, here, can I take this off? If I take on g6, and can I take here? Kintoki says, I still like rook b2 here. I suggested it without Fritz. Well done, Kintoki. Good stuff. Okay, we've got a lot of different moves suggested, but you can see that after I get rid of this bishop, then e4 is vulnerable. So let's just go back. So my question is, what happens after queen c2? If bishop h4, yeah, I think c3 is en prise. This is a problem. Sorry, if we just go back to that variation, after d4, rook takes g6, Xeraxes says d3 after rook takes g6. Okay, well, maybe this is winning. Let's have a look. If I play queen b3, wow, this is good fun. What a crazy position. Clint Eastwood says this game reminds me a little of McDonnell against Labourdonnais. Yes, there's a famous game from this match, McDonnell-Labourdonnais, which was played in the first half of the 19th century. I think the match was in the 1840s, where black had 3 pawns on the second rank. Ms. Lenice says, now white is better. Well, there you go. I don't think Mamedyarov resigned. I think he probably lost on time. And I'm not suggesting this is the best way for black to play. Can we go back? So, queen c2. What's the best for black here? I'm not entirely sure. There seem to be some suggestions in this position. E3 check has been suggested. I presume you mean in this position. This is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Am I going to be very greedy and actually put my rook back? I think I am. What a crazy position. Little Tiger wants to play h takes g6. You must mean in another position, because I have queen f7 mate. Mr. Tambourine Man says this is as crazy as Ivanchuk Jobava. That's from the Olympiad. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. But this is just very hard to assess, particularly if you're a human being. So I repeat, if anyone can crack this move, queen c2, I'd be very, very interested. I'm not quite sure how you do it. I wonder whether it's better not to leap in with rook b2. It might be better to wait in this position. Maybe simply play queen c5. And I'm sure that black is doing very, very well here. But it's not over yet. That's my point. So, still a long way to go here. I think white has chances to blockade in this position. Okay, folks, I'm going to leave it there. But no doubt this end position after rook b8, rook b8 will be discussed over the next few days, and perhaps there's a clear winning route for black in this position, but at the moment it's a little bit unclear to me after bishop c1. Okay, I just want to take this. Xeraxes is saying, what if I take the rook on g6 and afterwards play bishop g5 threatening f5? Okay, well let me have a quick look at that. So queen c2, and now d4 takes. You want to take. I'm getting confused with the variations. I think we've got a wrong position. It's very hard for me to follow your line of analysis if we don't have the complete variation. I'm sorry. Horchy says, is it in your new DVD, How to Win with a Lot of Pawns Against a Rook? No, it's not. But in my latest DVD, I'm discussing practical king and pawn endings. Okay, folks, I'm going to leave it there. But I repeat, I think black has a bit of work to do after bishop c1. Thanks for tuning in. Critical round tomorrow. It's the 4th game of these mini matches. All to play for. See you tomorrow. Round starts at, let me see, 3 p.m. in Kazan. 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. server time. I'll be doing live commentary again, and there'll be another roundup show tomorrow evening. So, cracking day tomorrow. Hopefully see you then. Thanks a lot. Bye.